after he failed to address claims of racism made against the royal family in his explosive Oprah interview and the subsequent Netflix series. Prince Harry was accused of having hung his family out to dry. While discussing Meghan's contentious assertion to Oprah that an anonymous royal had voiced concern over Archie's skin colour, Harry rejected labelling the royal family racist, but claimed they were guilty of unconscious bias. They were worried that if he were born too brown, that would be an issue, right? Oprah questioned the Duchess in 2021. Do you really mean that? If that's the assumption you're making, Meghan retorted, I think that feels like a pretty safe one, which was really hard to understand, right? After hours of speculation over which senior royal made the remark, Prince William, brother of Harry, was forced to declare that they were very much not a racist family in public. In an unusual remark, the Queen stated that the issue raised, particularly that of race, is concerning, but added that recollections may vary. But he asserted that the royal family is not racist in an explosive interview with ITV's Tom Bradby to promote his new novel. Mr. Bradby's shrill U-turn from earlier fiery statements left him clearly astonished, as did millions of spectators. The British broadcaster brought up Meghan's 2021 Oprah interview and said, "You accused members of your family of racism." The broadcaster was a close friend of Harry's. Harry retaliated, saying, "No, I didn't. The British media reported that." Has Meghan ever brought up their racism? The Duke continued to maintain that the remarks made concerning his son, Archie's skin tone, were the results of unconscious bias. Mr. Bradby seemed surprised by the response, and experts claimed that Harry obviously didn't comprehend the phrase he was using at the time. Former BBC royal correspondent Jenny Bond told ITV's Lorraine, "So much of what he said seemed conflicted and contradictory. He allowed his family to be hung out to dry on an accusation of racism, which Harry now says he never said and wasn't true. That, in my view, is almost unforgivable." And ITV News' royal editor Chris Shipp said on Good Morning Britain, "Harry is right to say they didn't use the word racist at any point, but Harry didn't correct the narrative when this whole racism row then started, and not correcting the narrative is something he accused the royal family of not doing when he criticised Jeremy Clarkson and others as well." Royal correspondent and biographer Robert Jobson said, "Robert F. Kennedy's daughter said Prince Harry and Meghan were handed an award for their heroic stance against the structural racism of the royal family. Harry says neither he or Meg said the royal family was racist. Perhaps they should give the award back." While the Duke has not referred to the Oprah interview in his memoir, he was asked by Bradby in the interview to plug the book, "Wouldn't you describe that as essentially racist?" The Duke replies, "I wouldn't, not having lived within that family." But he adds, "The difference between racism and unconscious bias, the two things are different. But once it's been acknowledged or pointed out to you as an individual or an institution that you have unconscious bias, you therefore have an opportunity to learn and grow from that, so that you are part of the solution rather than part of the problem." And he accused Buckingham Palace of failing to follow up on promises it made in the wake of the Oprah controversy, including appointing a Diversity Czar. The Duke of Sussex said there is a place for the monarchy in the modern world if they addressed unconscious bias. Asked on Good Morning America this morning if he thinks there is a place for the British monarchy in the 21st century, he said, "I genuinely believe that there is, not the way it is now." Asked if they needed to modernise, and if so, in what way, Harry said, "I think the same process that I went through with regarding my own unconscious bias would be hugely beneficial to them. Not racism, but unconscious bias. If not confronted, if not learned and grown from, that can then move into racism. But there was an enormous missed opportunity with my wife." During the interview, Harry also said, "I think my mother would have realised the missed opportunity with Meghan being part of the institution, part of the monarchy." Harry and Meghan's interview with Oprah in 2021 marked their first major interview since they stepped down as senior members of the royal family in 2020. One of the most shocking moments from the interview came when Meghan said there were several conversations between herself, Harry and members of the royal family about how dark their baby could be before Archie was born. Speaking about the family, Oprah had asked Meghan, because they were concerned that if he were born too brown, that would be a problem. "Are you saying that?" Meghan then replied, "I wasn't able to follow up with why. If that's the assumption you're making, I think that feels like a pretty safe one," which was really hard to understand, right? In his interview with Bradby last night, Harry said, "That conversation I'm never going to share. At the time it was awkward. I was a bit shocked." His refusal to name the person involved sparked an international guessing game about who the royal racist was. In a statement, the late Queen said the claims were concerning, but stressed that recollections may vary, and the claims would be addressed privately. Referring to the racism allegations made previously by his wife, Harry bridled at the suggestion by Bradby that he accused his family of racism, snapping back, "No, I didn't. The British press said that. Did Meghan ever mention that they're racist? She said there were troubling comments about Archie's skin colour." Bradby replied, There was concern about his skin colour." Harry corrected him. When Bradby suggested there was a danger by not naming the person concerned, Harry said, "Yes, you're right. The key word is concern, which was troubling. But you speak to any other couple, mixed-race couple around the world, and you will probably find that the white side of the family have either openly discussed it or secretly discussed it, What are the kids going to look like? And that is part of a, bigger conversation that needs to be had." He claimed that after the interview with Oprah, they said that they were going to bring in a Diversity Czar. That hasn't happened. He added, "Everything they said was going to happen hasn't happened. I've always been open to wanting to help them understand their part in it, and especially when you are the monarchy, you have a responsibility, and quite rightly people hold you to a higher standard than others." In the couple's Netflix series Harry and Meghan, the Duke claimed, "In this family, sometimes you're part of the problem rather than part of the solution. There is a huge level of unconscious bias." The thing with unconscious bias, it is actually no one's fault, but once it has been pointed out or identified within yourself, then you need to make it right. It is education, it is awareness, it is a constant work in progress for everybody, including me. The Duke added that members of the royal family asked why the Duchess should be protected when they questioned newspaper headlines about her. The direction from the palace was, "Don't say anything," he said. But what people need to understand is, as far as a lot of the family were concerned, everything she was being put through, they had been put through as well. So it was almost like a rite of passage, and some of the members of the family were like, "My wife had to go through that, so why should your girlfriend be treated any differently? Why should you get special treatment? Why should she be protected?" I said, the difference here is the race element.